But what's the overall situation, not just along the line of control between India and Pakistan in Jammu and Kashmir, but also in the hinterland or in depth areas, in urban built-up areas? Is there a rise in terror? Is there a drop in terror? I put some of these questions to General Manoj Mukund Naravane, Chief of the Army Staff. Let's listen in. Sir, will the US draw down in Afghanistan? Are we looking at a spike in tensions along the line of control or in the hinterland in coming months? And in your appreciation, terrorists using drones, does this mark a shift in tactics being used against India?
Well, over the past few months, in fact, ever since the ceasefire understanding between the DGMOs in February this year, the situation in J&K has seen a marked improvement, especially as far as terrorism is concerned. There has been little or no infiltration from across the LC, and the number of incidents, terror-related incidents in the valley have also seen a considerable decline. Of course, the odd incident of firing at some security force picket here and there, or the gunning down of some person in his village, these kind of incidents do continue, but overall, the sharp drop in all these parameters of violence have very clearly indicated that the Awam, the general population in Kashmir, is all for peace and development. And I think that going ahead, this is where we need to focus and make sure that we create the conditions which are conducive to peace and development.
Taliban in Pakistan, Pakistan state-sponsored terror. So you're saying there's a drop in terror. There is a drop in ceasefire violations that DGMO peace is holding. But then are drones then the new tactics that terrorists are adopting? Because here there is political activity and delimitation process that gets underway, General.
No, I'm sure that there would be some inimical elements and some elements who would not like peace to prevail in the valley. But what is very clear and what emerges is that post the ceasefire, all the parameters of violence have dropped. So there was definitely a linkage between the support that the terrorists got from across the border and the levels of violence in the Kashmir Valley. So that linkage is very well established, and consequent to the ceasefire, since there is a ceasefire, there's no longer any infiltration. Since there is no infiltration, the number of terrorists in the valley are lesser. Since the number of terrorists are lesser, the number of terrorist-related incidents are also seen a drop. So this is a very clear chain which is established of cause and effect. So, but as I mentioned earlier, there will always be elements who will try to sabotage the process of peace and development, but we will have to cater for that. And we, I think, have a very strong counter-terrorist and counter-infiltration grid in J&K, and our operations to that end to ensure peace and tranquility will continue.
And I want to quickly bring in India Today's Ashraf, Wani, our man on ground in the valley for more on the story. Ashraf, the army chief says, ever since the DGMO dialogue, peace is holding, not just at the line of control, but also a marked decline in terror cases. And not firing, shooting or targeting of police personnel, but overall a big decline in terror. What explains this? Does this actually mean that Pakistan controls the terror tap?
Absolutely, Gaurav. Basically, one of the indicators which clearly mentions that there is some less role of foreign militants in the Kashmir Valley and infiltration is at its low is that during the 2021, means this year, in the initial 6 months, only 3 foreign militants had been killed in the Kashmir Valley, and 2 of them in Sopore and 1 recently here in the Srinagar. So that means the number of killed militants is more locals as compared to the Pakistanis, what was earlier trend that mostly the militants killed in different operations by the security forces were the foreigners. So there is some decline in the infiltration as well as the peace on the line of control. We are not seeing the ceasefire violations which were the daily routine in the Kashmir Valley, particularly in the North Kashmir, in the Udi sector, Masil sector, Gurez sector. That means the talks between the DMOs of 2 countries, Pakistan and India, has so far been seen its effectiveness on the line of control, and also its impact is visible in the valley too.
Does this lead to an improvement in situation when it comes to resumption of political activity, the activities of the Delimitation Commission, the interaction with political leaders? What's the situation on ground in Srinagar, for example?
So far, the situation is not so much good as it might have been seen as per the commitments of the government. But the main reason for that is that the internal political issue. You have seen the meetings of the political parties in Delhi with the Prime Minister. All parties in single voice said that there should be the statehood in the Jammu and Kashmir. There should be the restoration of peace, and also that kind of thing that shows some kind of stability. As far as the terrorism is concerned, most of the experts believe here in the valley, in Kashmir Valley, that if some engagements are going to be held with the Pakistan as well as with the local political parties, there will be the stability in the situation in the Kashmir Valley, as well as the terror-related incidents will come to the decline.
Ashraf, for the moment, many thanks for joining me.